So tonight what we're going to do is a little bit of a newcomers meeting. We haven't done one in a while. I think it's time. I don't think we can hear it too much. I've heard a newcomer or foundation meeting over and over and over, and I still listen to it, and I still get something out of it every time. And I think it's worth repeating only because, just like we talked about last week, there's some reoccurring things that have been coming up this week. So there's been some reoccurring themes that have been coming up this week across the board. And I think, again, if it's something that keeps coming up, it's something worth looking into. And it's probably a good refresher for all of us. So with that being said, I'm going to do a little bit of history, just a little teeny tiny bit of history before we get started. And I'm going to be going out of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I realize there are a lot of addicts in here. I want you guys to understand that the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous has been regurgitated. It has been used for over 250 different offsprings. Why? Because it works. The 12 steps in their original form work. So if we say alcoholic or read alcoholic and you're an addict, please plug in, because if we spend all our time going alcoholic addict, right? And in this group, we don't differentiate, right? What's the first step? Can y'all tell me what the first step is?
We admitted we were powerless over alcohol and that our lives had become unmanageable.
All right. So what if we just stick with that first part? We admitted we were powerless, right? We have no power. We can stay right there and we're all in the same boat, correct? Y'all follow me? It's not just about alcohol. It's not just about drugs. It can be codependency. It can be relationships. It can be YouTube shorts. It can be Candy Crush. It can be food. It can be sugar, right? We could go on and on. So the 250 different groups that are using the 12 steps as a standard for theirs: Heroin Anonymous, they got Narcotics Anonymous started out using the book, and then they adjusted it to their own format, but the basis is still the 12 steps, right? We've even got Lip Balm Anonymous. Now that should not be in existence, because I would not survive without my lip balm. I cannot go to sleep without it. But it is a thing. So there's Cocaine Anonymous, there's Drug Addicts Anonymous, we could go on, there's Sex Anonymous. We could go fentanyl. We could go on and on and on with all the different offsprings. And why are there so many? Because it works. And so that's why this group in here, we focus on the 12 steps. Why? Because it works. And so it's important, if we're going to use the 12 steps as a foundation for our teaching and a foundation for what we're talking about, to know what they are and understand what their purpose is and why we're doing them. Okay? What I want to point out is in the very title page of this book, the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, it says the story of how many thousands of men and women have recovered from alcoholism, have recovered from lack of power. Okay? The story of how they have what? Recovered with an ED. I don't know about you guys, but when I first came into recovery, I didn't want to hear that I was going to be recovering the rest of my life. I just didn't. If you broke your leg tonight and the doctor said, "I'm so sorry, you're going to be recovering the rest of your life," would that give you much hope? It would suck, right? It'd be terrible. "Oh, I'm sorry, you've had this ailment and you're going to be recovering the rest of your life." How about we give you a little bit of hope, though, and say you're going to get recovered? Because that's what this book and the 12 steps promise us, is that we can go from a hopeless state of mind and body, where we can go from having no power. If we have no power, what's the solution? To have power, right? And that's what the 12 steps offer us, is to get connected to a power that is going to relieve us from this obsession to drink or use or whatever we do. So if we flip just a couple pages in this book to the forward to the first edition, how many of y'all actually read forwards in a book? Anybody? We got a few weirdos in here, right? I had never read, sorry, right. Tesla, nobody ever reads the forwards, at least not me. But in this book, the forward to the first edition, which means the first time this book was published, the very first thing it says, that we of Alcoholics Anonymous are more than 100 men and women who have recovered, right? So the title page says we've recovered, and then the very first page to the forward says we have recovered. From what? a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body. So that's what we're going to get into. So it doesn't say we've recovered from alcoholism, right? What is it that we've recovered from? Hopeless state of mind and body. A hopeless state. A hopeless state means what? Without power. Hopeless, without hope. Hope and power are kind of synonymous, right? They're kind of the same kind of thing. Would y'all agree with that? If I got no hope, I got no power. If I got no power, I got no hope. They kind of are important for each other. So the main purpose of this book is what? To show other alcoholics precisely how we have what? Recovered. So 2 sentences, 2 times they've said recovered. You think that's important? Man, I think it's very important. I don't know about you, but again, I don't want to be recovering the rest of my life. And this book, why do we teach so much out of this book? We teach a lot of this book without y'all even knowing we teach out of this book, because we just know it and we know the principles and all that's in it. So everything that we talk about is from the principles of this book. Why? Because it works. It works. What it says to do and everything it says in it is important. And the cool thing is it shows us precisely. So if we're without power and our goal is to find power, what we can do is get into this book, find a sponsor, work the steps, and do it precisely as it says to do. And guess what we're going to find? Power. Pretty miraculous things, right? Now, if we go to the doctor and they say, I'm sorry, you got cancer. And in order for you to recover, in order for you to get better, you got to follow these precise, exact instructions. What are we going to do? Exactly what they tell us to do. But we come into recovery and it's like, man, we got a solution. You are struggling. You're going to die. You're going to lose everything that ever mattered to you. And your life is going to keep going downhill. And we got a way out. If you do exactly what we tell you to do, when we tell you to do it, we promise you, you will get recovered. We got a lot of people going, oh, yeah, but that's too hard. Oh, I don't know about that part. I can't do a 4-step. I can't get clean with what's going on in my heart. I can't go to all these meetings. I can't do what you're asking me to do, even though my life depends on it. Why is that? We're going to get into that. Because we're suffering from a hopeless state of mind, right? So it goes on to say, for them, we hope these pages will prove so convincing that no further authentication will be necessary, which means if you want to recover, this is all you need. We're not saying don't use anything else, but this will get you there. We think this account of our experiences will help everyone to better understand us, and many do not comprehend that we're very sick people. Besides, we're sure our way of living has its advantages for all. So it tells us who wrote the book, what they wrote it about, why they wrote it, and how they wrote it. Pretty good information. So if we flip a few more pages to the doctor's opinion. Actually, before we go there, the forward to the second edition has some good statistics in it. So there were 16 years between the first publication and the second publication. So they printed all these books, they sold out, and they printed again. So the forward to the second edition says in these 16 years, this is what we found. And what they found is that those who came to AA and really tried, half of them came in, half of them really tried, got sober, and remained that way the rest of their life. Guys, if we split this room down the middle right now and half of y'all remain sober the rest of your life, that's pretty good with our success rates today in recovery. I'll take that all day. But it gets better. It goes on to say that those who went out and relapsed, those knuckleheads that went out and relapsed, half of them came back and said, okay, I realize what y'all said was true. I'm going to follow your precise instructions and I'm going to do what you said. Those 25% got sober and remained that way. So after a couple relapses, they came in, did the work, which means they really tried. They stayed sober the rest of their life. That's 75% success rate. What? Y'all see anything like that now? No, we don't. And it goes on to say this 25% of knuckleheads that were like, no, I've got this, I'm going to do it my way, that they showed improvement. Those who stuck around, finally gave the program a chance, they started seeing improvement. There are some program or some meetings in Akron, Ohio, they're looking at 93, 95% success rate of people coming in, getting sober and staying sober. We are not seeing those kind of success rates today. In AA, do you want to know what the average success rate is? Say that really loud. That's a good number. That's a good number because the last I
thought it was
heard,
10.
people getting 5-year chips was less than 4%. People getting 10-year chips, our numbers aren't good, right? They're just not good. But what's the difference? What was the caveat in this? It says that those who came in and really tried, right? When we come in and we do this work, it works. And guys, I'm living proof of that. There's many people in here that are living proof. When we do this work, our heart changes. When we do this work, we get connected to this power we cannot fully comprehend or define, right? We start to have things happen to us and we start saying things that we're like, where did that come from, right? How did that happen? How did I react that way? How did I not throat punch this person? I don't know, right? So it really does work when we try. And it's it's worth trying. So, it tells us that you guys hear this all the time in AA meetings. Rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. But rarely do we see people thoroughly follow the path. I've been around in recovery a long time. The people that I see thoroughly following the path, the people really trying, they don't relapse. They just don't. I'm living proof of that. Because guys, I was a hard drunk. I was a 30 beers a day just so that I didn't have to drink full-on vodka, right? I did that for 6 years. And then throw in the methamphetamines and the cocaine and the acid and what you got, because I'll take it. I almost killed myself. So I'm telling you, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to stay sober a week, because I had never done that before, ever. A month, impossible. I'd never been sober a month in my entire life. My mom was putting liquor in my baby bottle. I had drank sips of beer, sips of alcohol my entire life. I had never not had it. By the time I was 11 years old, I was shaking when I didn't have it. So I'm here to tell you, I got in and I was so desperate. I was like, I'll do whatever you tell me to do, because I'm going to die. And I did it, and here I am. And I couldn't imagine a month. When I got to a year, I was like, I guess this kind of works. Like, I guess, I don't know. And here I am, and it's still working. And that's still why I'm so passionate about teaching this, because it works. I'm living proof. You can be too. So it goes on to say that when we do this, we have a new freedom. We get a new freedom, a new life. My life is not the same as it was. It's almost like I remember my past, but it's like I'm remembering a whole different story, right? Because it's just not who I am today. So the doctor's opinion, if you guys ever noticed, it was written with Roman numerals. Y'all know why it's written with Roman numerals? It is because the Dr. Townsend was not an alcoholic, and they didn't want his writing to be confused with the rest of the book, because they wanted the page numbers to represent the alcoholics that wrote the book, and his was an opinion at the time. So Dr. Townsend had worked at Townsend. He had worked at Towns Hospital. It was Dr. Silkworth. My bad. Dr. Silkworth was working at Towns Hospital. He had treated over 40,000 alcoholics that came in. And what he found, there was about 10% of these alcoholics that would come in that just couldn't quite get it, right? Of those 90% that came in, he could give them their treatment and they'd go on their merry way and never drink or use again. But about 10% kept coming back, kept relapsing. He's like, man, well, I don't understand what's going on with these people. What's going on? So at the time of the writing, his opinion was, what we're going to get into, was just that. It was an opinion. It was not scientifically proven at the time. It was an opinion. And so he didn't put, in the first edition, he did not put his name in it because he didn't want to be ostracized and he didn't want to be judged. But it has since been scientifically proven everything he said was true. And so in the second edition and so forth, they started putting his name in it because they started seeing such high success rates. He's like, yeah, I'll be a part of that. But that's the reason why they had it in Roman numerals. So Dana, go to the doctor's opinion and flip 1-2 pages down at the bottom, or down at the top. It says, "We believe." You there?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
We believe. It's XXVIII. Go to doctor's opinion, flip 2.
Yes, ma'am. We believe.
Yeah, just read that paragraph loud enough for everybody to hear.
We believe, and so suggested a few years ago, that the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics is a manifestation of an allergy, that the phenomenon of craving is limited to this glass and never occurs in the average temperate drinker. These allergic types can never safely use alcohol in any form at all, and once having formed the habit and found they cannot break it, once having lost their self-confidence, their reliance upon things human, their problems pile up on them and become astonishingly difficult to solve.
Thank you, my dear. So, this phenomenon of craving, what does phenomenon mean? Unexplainable. Very good. So he was realizing this 10% was having this craving, this allergy, right? That the action of alcohol on these chronic alcoholics, so those chronic ones were the 10% that just kept coming back and coming back and coming back. That this allergy, what's an allergy, guys?
An abnormal reaction.
Abnormal reaction. So I've got an abnormal reaction to codeine. It makes my whole body itch. Some people have an abnormal reaction to penicillin. It makes their throat swell up. Some people have an abnormal reaction to lobster. Makes we all have abnormal reactions. Our abnormal reaction, our allergy to alcohol, our allergy to methamphetamines, our allergy to cocaine, whatever it is, nicotine, is that we do what?
Crave more.
It's phenomenon of craving. So they couldn't explain it or define it why my body craves it when I put it in. My abnormal reaction is I will have more of that. Well, it is a toxic substance. Our body should really be rejecting it, right? Is there anybody in here that's an addict and not an alcoholic? We got a few, right? So you non-alkies out there, you guys can have alcohol, and what happens with y'all when y'all do it? You're sleeping. Fall asleep. Anybody puke? What do you do?
I throw up.
Throw up. Okay. Throw up. Okay, now my alkies in here. When we throw up, what do? We keep going, right? Doesn't stop us. Doesn't stop us. We're on it. We don't care. Give me another, right?
I do now.
Right on. Right on. So there's a little bit of a difference. I mean, and there is a little bit of a difference when it comes to alcoholism and addiction. Because an alcoholic is either born that way or they're not. Misty, can you drink enough to crave alcohol, to want more of it? Have you ever been able to drink enough to want more of it or have to have more of it? Michelle, you either? Okay.
No, it wasn't.
So you non-alkies out there, when you say, okay, I'm going to have one or I have one, I'm done, you're not like, oh, I'm going to have another.
No.
All right, so, okay. So as an alcoholic, I can say I'm only going to have one. I never said that. I never said one. I would say I'm going to have a few, right? I'm going to have a few, but I always overshot the mark. Any alcoholics, can you understand that? Like you had more than you intended? That was me every time. I'm going to have a glass of wine tonight, and I'm having a bottle. Well, I'm only going to have one bottle of wine tonight, and I have 2. I'm only going to have a 6-pack of Budweiser, and I have 30. I'm only going to go to happy hour, and then you guys get the drift, okay? So an alcoholic either has the gene or they don't. That is not the case with addiction, with drug addiction. You give me Mother Teresa, and you put some methamphetamines in her body, and she is selling all those kids that she's so wonderfully saved, right? They're gone. For real. Y'all follow me, right? So think about addiction. Think about meth. Did you ever get enough? Did you ever have enough and you're like, okay, I'm done. I'm all right. I can just sit here and chill for a while and I'll be all right. Cocaine? Anybody ever have enough cocaine? No, not me either. So y'all see, and those are toxic substances, y'all. Those are things our bodies should be rejecting, but our bodies say we must have some more. And that's the hard thing about drugs is because it doesn't matter who it is, chances are you're going to get addicted to it. Alcoholism, not so much. You either are or you aren't. Now, the thing about alcoholism is there may be a time you can control it. There may be a time, I mean, think about you, people that do identify as alcoholics. There was a time where it was just fun and it was okay. But then somewhere along the way, you crossed the line where it was like, okay, I'm doing this whether I want to or not. My age was 24. When I hit 24 years old, I started drinking every day whether I wanted to or not. And I didn't even realize it till 6 years later, and I'm going, what the heck? And if you would have called me an alcoholic, I'd have fought you. I wouldn't have accepted that because I drink just fine. I drink better than anybody I knew, right? So I didn't think I had a problem because I was able to be functional. I was able to not be on the drugs. I was able, as long as I had alcohol, I was okay. But it was killing me, right? It was absolutely, I was size 0. I mean, my liver was shutting down. All my internal organs were shutting down. I was close to death's door. But I'm still thinking, I got this. I'm okay. Which goes into our mind, right? So it says that I can't use alcohol in any form at all safely. Why? Because I have this allergy that produces a craving, which means once I start, I'm not going to stop, right? I don't stop till I run out or pass out. I don't know about y'all. Y'all ever had those friends that could set aside a baggie and save it for later?
Yeah.
Who does that? Okay, so with my body, do I have any control over the amount I'm going to take? Not necessarily. Just like who's in here's got an allergy to something? Anybody? To what?
Codeine.
Codeine, what does it do to you?
It'll kill me.
It'll kill you. Is there any way that you can control your body from being allergic to it?
No.
How many of us, though, have tried to control our drinking and using? Have you tried to just stay with these people? If I just stay with these people, I won't use as much. I won't drink as much. If I just don't go to this side of town, I won't do as much. If I just drink beer and not hard liquor, I'll be okay. If I just use cocaine instead of methamphetamines, I'll be okay. If I just get high, if I just fill in the blank. How many different ways have you tried to control your drinking and using? And did it work? Because for me, I had no control, which means what? I end up wasted, right? More time. And here's the thing with that is there are times that is very intentional. I have had times I have intended to get wasted, but there were many times I didn't. There were many times I tried not to, and I did anyway. Y'all follow me? So the body's a real easy thing to understand of okay, well, if this were the only problem, then what would be the solution? Just say no, Nancy Reagan, right? Just say no. That would do it. I'll explain it later, honey. So you're too young. All right, Dana, you're up. So down at the bottom of that page, men and women, if you'll drink that full paragraph, that would be awesome. Go ahead, drink it, dear. Drink it.
Men and women drink essentially because they lack the effect produced by alcohol. The sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. To them, their alcoholic life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontented, unless they can again experience a sense of ease and comfort, which comes at once by taking a few drinks which they see others taking with impunity. After they have succumbed to the desire again, as so many do, and the phenomenon of craving develops, they pass through the well-known stages of a spree, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution not to drink again. This is repeated over and over, and unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, there is very little hope of his recovery.
There's a lot to unpack in that. So though we admit it's injurious, what kind of injuries do we have from drinking and using? Death?
Kidney failure.
Death?
Damage.
What is some kids? Money? Physical?
Our health.
Health? I heard freedom.
Sanity.
So jail? No. Oh, self-worth. What else? We got physical. Jobs. I heard insanity. Oh, relationships. Oh, we could go on and on, right? We could go on and on. So we admit it's injurious. We admit when you drink or drug the way we do, which is usually out of control, right? Bad things most likely happen. How many of us have had one of these things happen and woke up that next morning with a firm resolution not to do it again? I am never doing that. Oh, one night stands. Oh, dignity, that's a good one. I am never doing that again. I am never getting that messed up again where I do these things that cause shame and guilt and all these things. Oh, what about waking up in jail? Anybody ever said, oh, that's it. I am done. I am done. Anybody ever said, I'm done, and then did it again? And how many of y'all that did it again have people in your life saying, but don't you understand? You're going to die. Don't you understand you're going to go back to jail? Don't you understand you're going to lose your kids? Is that enough? But we got a whole industry telling us to focus on this, to focus on all these things. Get your act together. Don't let this happen again. Get your behavior right so you don't have to go use again. But the thing is, what happens? This isn't enough. Isn't enough. What does that mean? This has come up over and over and over this week. This is just one illustration of many that I've seen this week. The mind, in that what she just read, says that we can't differentiate the true from the false. What's the truth? We drink, we drug, we go back to relationships because some of our addictions are relationships. We have consequences. We have bad things that happen, right? Is it enough? Does it come? It's not that we forget about. She didn't forget about consequences. It just wasn't enough sufficient force to be able to deter her. And so if I can't differentiate the true from the false, the truth is I submit to this behavior. I submit to these desires. I'm going to have consequences. It will, but my mind says it's okay. Why? Why does my mind say it's okay? Because my mind's job is to do one thing, to help me feel better. So this leads us over here to the spirit. It says we are what? Restless, irritable, discontent. I just put red. You just fill in the blanks. Restless, irritable, and discontent. So just take the drug out. Just take the alcohol out. Just take the relationships out. Take all this stuff away. Do we get better? Right? If we just say no, do we get better? No, what happens? A little restless? Y'all a little bit restless at the Haven, right? A little restless. Got a lot of restless ladies. A little irritable, discontent. 20 of y'all. I deal with this every day. Restless, irritable, and discontent. I'm used to it by now. Irritable. I can't even spell it. Times 20. Yeah, times 20. And then I got a 14-year-old that did not want to go to school today. Really restless, irritable, and discontent. So we take away the one thing that's been giving us power, because lack of power is our dilemma. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm restless and irritable and discontent, what does alcohol or drugs do for me? Yeah, because what are those other injuries we were talking about? Shame, guilt, worthlessness, all those things, right? If I'm feeling worthless, what does drugs, alcohol, men, what do they give me? A sense of worth, right? Which gives me what? A sense of power. What am I looking for? Power. So when we get into recovery, we're asking you to take away the one thing that has helped you get power for however long it's helped you get power. So of course, we're going to have some restless, irritable, and discontent people. So y'all give each other grace, okay? Because we've taken away the one thing or the many things that have given us power for all our life. We're taking it away and we're trying something new. So if we do have somebody who's a little angry, somebody who's ready to, right, do it, yeah, doing that, it's okay. Why? Because we're learning something new. We're taking away the only thing that's ever worked for us. I couldn't date without alcohol. I couldn't go to a party. I got to where I couldn't grocery shop. I got to where I couldn't go to work without it. Why? Because I didn't have the confidence. I didn't have the peace. I didn't have anything that I needed to get through my day. But give me a little alcohol, give me a lot of alcohol, and I could. But what happens is it stopped working, right? Over all the years, and what worked at first, it stopped working. So my mind, once upon a time, remembers it works. You don't feel so good? I know what'll fix that. Just a drink. You don't have to get drunk this time. You don't have to use all the methamphetamines in that bag. You can just do a hit, right? I know, just a bowl. That's all you need. Whatever it is, I don't even know. I'm so out of the loop. So, but that's what my mind's job is to help me be okay in my spirit. If my spirit's in knots and my spirit is just, my mind is going to do whatever it has to take to make me okay. And it will not remember with sufficient force all the injuries and all of the consequences that come from taking a few drinks, from taking a few hits, from going out back to the same old people that have caused the same old thing. So if my mind can't differentiate the true from the false, you think that's a problem? So it means I have no choice. If I have no choice in whether or not I'm going to go back to it, Tiana had no choice. Tiana, we say, technically, we could say, yeah, she did, but has Tiana worked the steps? Has she gotten to this power yet? No. She's gonna. She's gonna. If I have anything to say about it. So for somebody that hasn't got connected to this power, we got to have a little bit more grace to help them get to that power, right? But think about all of us that have been addicted to drugs and alcohol. How many of us will substitute another drug to help us feel better? Sugar is a big one. Relationships are a big one. And that's why we stress so strongly. Stay out of relationships. Why? Because we will use relationships just like drugs and alcohol. But most of us, that was really our first addiction, way before the drugs and alcohol came into play. So it's real easy to go back to that because it's normal. It's normal for us. So the only way to help this restless, irritable, and discontent is to feel the opposite, which means we got to get to the heart. Like our spirit, we can say real easy, is our heart, right? We gotta fix what's going on there first. I can't expect someone who hasn't worked the steps to be able to have a mind to make correct decisions, to make the right choice. Why? Because they're going to have a heart that's driving that time and time again. And unfortunately, if they listen to it and do succumb to it, and if they are an addict and they put something in their body, they're going to be out of control. They're going to be absolutely out of control. I don't know about you guys, but it's so important to understand this body part. As an alcoholic, I know I cannot have alcohol substances in my body. My first few Christmases and Thanksgivings at my dad injects his hams with beer and alcohol, and that's how he cooks them. And I'd go home and I'd be like, Dad, I'm sorry, I can't have it. And he'd be so offended. Why can't you? I spend all day, I've been cooking this ham for 20 hours. What do you mean you can't have it? I can't have alcohol in any form at all in my body. I cannot. A lot of our pills today, our painkillers, are powdered forms of alcohol. Guess what? My body doesn't differentiate. I am an alcoholic. My body doesn't differentiate between powder, liquid, whatever it is. My body will take it in and it will say, I will have more. And so I have to be very careful about what I am allowed into my body. If I go, I've got a neck fusion in my neck. I got a steel plate. I can go into the doctor anytime and be like, man, I can't move. They're going to give me whatever I want. I mean, it's proven. Every time I go in there, you want hydrocodone? You want Vicodin? What do you want? Like, well, they'll prescribe it to me. I have to be responsible for what I put in my body. I have to. I have people all the time offering me booze. I mean, it's just so normal in our society today. I have to be super careful. Desserts, y'all. Desserts. There are some desserts that are loaded. Loaded. Bread pudding, loaded in rum. They say it cooks out. I'm not taking that chance. I am not. And not only that, it tastes like alcohol. I'm just not going there. So look up the science of that. Like just that alone, like that could be a cause for somebody to relapse. So we have to be very careful. I have to be careful about taking antihistamines. I've done so much methamphetamines. I take a Sudafed. I'm like, wound a little tight, y'all. Y'all know what I mean? You get that little in the back of your throat. And see, I'm not the only one. So we have to be very careful. Why? Because my body doesn't play. My body's gonna demand more. So I have to be very careful about what I put in my body. Okay, so back to this spirit and mind. It is important for us to have a mind that is functional. God gave us, and it tells us in the steps, when we get further on in the steps, God gave us free will. God gave us a mind to use. However, I can't rely on this in the beginning. I can't rely on my mind in the beginning until my heart has some healing. Okay? And so a lot of times in recovery, we'll expect people to be able to make good choices and do good things because they're not drinking and using anymore. However, if their heart has not been addressed and things have not been worked out spiritually and they don't have some heart healing and get some things out of the way that's blocking them, they'll never be able to make good decisions. They cannot differentiate the true from the false. Now, what happens is when we work the steps and we get to the other side, it says we have recovered. What have we recovered from? A hopeless state of mind and body. Now, does that mean I can put alcohol or drugs back in my body? No, not a good idea. However, my mind will recover. I'll be able to differentiate the true from the false. Today, I know better and I do better, but I can't do better until this gets some healing, right? And the way that it gets healing is, the way I get connected to this power is doing the steps. I do the steps and I start to clear away this wreckage in my heart. I start to clear away the traumas. I start to clear away those feelings. I start to see some truth about myself, and I start getting rid of that shame and that guilt and that all that stuff. And before you know it, I'm not so restless. I'm getting a little peace. You know, just we talk about it in here all the time, being addicted to peace. When I have peace, is my mind going to be driving me to go use and drink? I have no desire. It's not even a thought. If I'm calm, I'm relaxed, I have serenity, what is my mind going to be doing? It's going to be enjoying it, right? It's not going to be pushing me to do something else. And that is what it means to be recovered. So today I've got a mind that can differentiate the true from the false. It doesn't mean that I'm the smartest tool or the smartest person on the block, right? It doesn't mean any of that. But what it means is I'm going to recoil from it as a hot flame today. It's not even an option. It's just not going to work for me. So if you're finding yourself a little restless and a little irritable and wanting to throw a punch somebody, I would suggest getting into the steps and unblock some things that are causing issues in your heart, right? So step 2 is came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Came to believe that what? Power can do what? Restore us to sanity, right? I got to have this back, but the only way to get my mind back is through my spirit. My heart has got to have healing. My spirit has got to have some relief. Our spirit has been in survival mode for so long. Our heart has this big wall around it that's got to be removed. We got to start breaking those walls down. We got to start letting people in, and we got to start exposing who we are. And by doing that, we get recovered. So step 3 is what? Making a decision to turn our will in our life. What's our will in our life? Our will is our mind, and our life is our body. So how am I going to turn my will and life over? I'm going to start taking the rest of the actions, steps 4 through 9. I'm going to take those actions, and by the time I get to step 9, I'm going to learn how to live in 10, 11, and 12 every day. And 10, 11, 12 is not my maintenance step, it's my growth step. It's how I grow every day. If I'm not growing in recovery and I'm not having fun in recovery, is there any point in sticking around? I wouldn't be doing this if it was boring, y'all. I have a pretty interesting life. just so you know. Does anybody, Michelle, you want to add to that? Why don't you come talk to us? We got a few minutes, and we haven't heard from you in a while. Just everything that God's telling you to talk about.
Everything that God's telling me to talk about. Okay. He has actually talked to me quite a bit lately. I'm Michelle, and I'm an addict.
I'm Michelle.
Alcoholic, all-aholic, whatever. Being recovered. Am I considered recovered? Okay. Well, I am now considered recovered. Now I did not know that. I thought I was still, being recovered. And I don't know. It's hard to describe being recovered to somebody that's new in recovery, because you still got all these horrible things in your mind. You still have this feeling of, I'm not going to get it. There's no way I'm going to get it. I'm just not, for whatever reason. God does not love me. My family doesn't love me. I don't love me, right? Guys, I'm telling you, I tell my sponsees this all the time. It's going to happen. And that means when the light comes on, the greatest high that you will ever experience in your life is peace.
Mm-hmm.
It's the peace that you will get because you don't care who likes you and who doesn't. You know for sure that your higher power loves you. You know, maybe I'm not too bad. Maybe I can love me. That's an awesome feeling. You know that not only are you going to get back everything you lost, but you're going to get back things you didn't even think to ask for. Why? Because you are now putting in the hard work that it's going to take to make your life better. And it's people say, well, it's as simple as doing the 12 steps. Okay, mind you, there's nothing simple about doing the 12 steps. There's nothing simple about that at all. But if you can do it, and you can get through all 12 steps, you will become a person you never even thought that you could be. It is peaceful. Now, mind you, life is still going to happen, right? Still going to happen. Things are still going to suck. But the peace of knowing that the first thought in your mind is not going to be to go get high. You know what? Let's think about this. Some of you girls, I don't want to be at the Haven. Okay? Well, guess what? You're there. I don't want to do this. Okay? The peace of knowing, you know what? I can do this. I'm going to get through this, and I can do it clean and sober. That is the high. That is a high better than any drug or any man that you will ever experience in your life, is that peace of knowing that no matter what life throws at you, you're going to be okay. You don't have to be scared anymore. You don't have to be scared to walk out your front door and be confronted with whatever's going to happen, because you know that you're going to be able to do it. And guys, I was a skeptic. I was at the Haven, and believe you me, I tried everything I could to get out of it. Had Judge Board not given me my options, I would have. And there was a time I even tried to manipulate Judge Board. Sure did. He's a single man. That's exactly what went through my mind. I'm being honest. Okay? By the time I graduated drug court, that was no longer a thought. Okay? I was not. He was not the one for me. No, but you see, the addiction was in every part of my life. And I can I can wake up today, and you know what? I can honestly say, the one reservation I had about staying clean and sober has happened. Not once, but twice. And guess what? I'm still clean and sober. Why? Because I did what I was told to do when I was told to do it, how I was told to do it. I listened to my sponsor when she said, do it this way. I did it that way without question. I did all 12 steps. Not one time, but 3 times. Just to make sure I didn't miss something somewhere. And the peace I have today, guys, it's unimaginable. I don't even know how to describe it to you. I don't know how to explain it to you. You will experience it at some point if you want to put the work into it. It's all going to depend on you. And y'all made it this far, guys. I mean, come on, y'all are here in the room. I would love to be at home in my pajamas right now. But this is what I was asked to do, so I do it without question. So, is that good? I didn't even get to plan for that one. That was just
I
kind of
know. That's what happens when you volunteer to talk.
Sure. I volunteered like a month ago. And she volunteered.
All right, so I just thought it was good just to give everybody just a refresher course, because this stuff is never going away. Like, and this is good too once you get to a point. Oh, baby, that's not our baby, is it? Oh, there's another baby. Okay, they're all our babies. So, you know, and if you guys have heard this before and you're past this is good to remember when you're sponsoring people. This is the first step in helping them understand what the problem is. Is the problem drugs and alcohol? My problem is lack of power. Lack of power is my dilemma, not drugs and alcohol. Drugs and alcohol are my solution to the problem. Drugs and alcohol give me power when I don't have any. They give me power. Drugs and alcohol tell me where to go, what to do, when to do it, who to do it with, and they drive my life, right? So I need a different power. I need somebody else to tell me what to do, who to do it with. I need something else driving my life, and that is God. And that's what it says. It says God's got to be the one to do that. But for me, I'd go to church and I'd pray and I'd do all these things and I couldn't find God because all I had of God was up here, right? I'd have those moments of God in my heart, but very few. But God didn't make me feel better about myself. God didn't make me feel unashamed. God didn't make me feel beautiful. God didn't make me feel worthy until I did the steps, until I had an experience with God. And once I had that experience with God, all of a sudden it just all happened naturally. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, I guess I'm kind of smart. Oh, I guess I am worthy, right? Oh, I guess I am all these things he says I am.